for joining me after elaborate celebrations that were Sir Tom Finney Day. We're going to be talking about that this morning. Jamie, yourself and I went down to some of the celebrations. Do we think it was a fitting tribute for the great peony player?
I think fitting is the perfect way to describe it. Yeah, you mentioned there that you thought it was elaborate celebrations. I think that might be going a little bit far, but it certainly was a wonderful day. Fitting tribute to a legendary man. Of course, he's just shy of his 87th birthday now, Tom Finney. Sir Tom Finney. And it was a brilliant day. Sir Tom himself turned up at the National Football Museum at about 1 o'clock on Thursday lunchtime. He met some school children, handed out some prizes. Had an interview with James Cooper of Sky Sports alongside Preston North End chairman Derek Shaw, and then he was back there in the evening to tour the official Sir Tom Finney exhibition, which was opened by Mark Lawrenson himself, and then after that they headed down to the gala dinner at Preston Guildhall, where a lot of the biggest names from the football world were there. Mark Lawrenson again, Doug Ellis, Dave Bassett, and many more were down there to pay tribute to the great man. So it was a brilliant day, very successful for an incredibly successful man.
The score managed to get into the Sir Tom Finney exhibition at the museum a little bit earlier than the rest of the public. What did you think of the exhibition?
We did. We had a sneaky little nose around. It was good. It's quite a small exhibition, but it's very nice. There's a lot of old memorabilia there. There's old Tom Finney shirts. There's a little map on the wall of where he used to live and where he was born and where he grew up. Literally just a stone's throw from Deepdale Stadium. So there's some nice mementos there. There's a lot of photographs charting his early years to pictures now of him getting his knighthood and things like that. I think it's a very nice exhibition, and it is a lovely tribute to a deserving elderly man.
We got to speak to some interesting people on the day, including Sir Tom Finney's son, Preston North End chairman Derek Shaw. You can listen to those interviews on our website. But Jamie, you spoke to them. Could you just give us a little idea of what they had to say about Sir Tom Finney and the day itself?
Yeah, sure. Brian Finney was very complimentary of his father. Obviously, he was too young to really remember a lot of what his dad did back in those days. I asked him what he thought would be Sir Tom's greatest moment in a peony shirt, and he couldn't say. If anything, there were too many. He did say though that he could tell me what Sir Tom's biggest disappointment was, and that was missing out on an FA Cup final medal. Missing out against West Brom, where they ultimately lost 3-2, I think, in the final. So yeah, he had some interesting things to say there. Derek Shaw again was very, very complimentary of Sir Tom. Said that really he was an absolute legend to the town and to the city even, and how he will forever be in Preston's hearts. And I think it was a great day for everyone all concerned, and I think Derek Shaw was very proud to have somebody like Sir Tom holding up the name of Preston North End.
Now, we move away from Sir Tom Finney Day. This week, of course, Lee Williamson arrives from Watford. What can Preston North End fans expect from the Watford midfielder?
He'll add some steel to the Preston midfield, and I think that's something that they really need. Obviously, without Richard Chaplow, and they've lacked a number of midfield players. On top of that, of late, Paul McKenna, the captain, suffered a dead leg last week before the game or the trip down to Charlton. So, I mean, they've really been struggling in the midfield area. Of course, Barry Nicholson as well. He was out with broken ribs, and he's likely to be out for the rest of the season. So, there's a lot of need for a decent steely midfielder, and I think they should have that with Lee Williamson. Hopefully, he'll be able to hold things in midfield and spray a few passes out to the wings and create something for Preston North End, which they dearly need as the season really hots up.
Yes, of course, we're back to Championship action this week after an international break. Preston North End travel to Bristol City, who still probably clinging on to some remote playoff hopes themselves. How do we see that one going?
It's always tough to face a Gary Johnson side. Obviously, Bristol City did very, very well last year. They were straight up from League One, and they surprised everyone really by flying so high. They made the playoffs and looked pretty likely of gaining promotion to the Premiership at the end, which would have been a complete shock. But I think that they've definitely got it in them to maybe make the playoffs again this year. It's going to be, as you say, a bit of a remote shot remote chance of getting there. But Gary Johnson runs his teams very well. They're disciplined. They know they've got an eye for a goal. They can score. They can defend pretty well. So I think it's going to be a tough trip down to Ashton Gate. Well, especially with the Preston North End record of late on the travels. That will make the whole task even tougher. But I think, to be honest, I'd be quite hopeful that Preston North End can finally put things right with the introduction of Lee Williamson in midfield. I think maybe they've got a shot of nicking a 1-0 victory down there.
Okay, thanks, Jamie. Well, I think we'll move on from PNE there. Of course, Bristol City and Preston North End, just two of the teams in the playoff race still. You can get the scores insight into the playoff race on Friday in our newspaper, where we'll be featuring several of the teams and their prospects. But for now, we're going to move on to the PNE youth team, and James Bronfield was there for us. A shocking defeat for them, which is something they've not tasted for a while, James.
No, and I think Jamie Hoyland's reaction after the game said it all. He was very disappointed with some individuals' performance throughout the game. But they started in typical fashion. They went a goal down early, and it was 2-0 at half time. But weeks that have gone by, they've come back in the second half and come back to win 3-2 as they did a week before away to Stockport. But this time it never really looked like it was going to be Preston's day. As they come out in the second half, it was an early goal and it was 3-0, and the heads dropped from there on. You could see that Dean Ramsdale and Jamie Hoyland on the touchline were getting more and more frustrated as the game wore on. He tried to mix things up tactically by bringing Proctor in on the wing up front in place of Jamie Douglas, who didn't have the best of games at all. But it didn't work. They managed to get a consolation goal, a penalty, but it was a lacklustre performance, as Jamie Hoyland said after the game in the end.
Do you see this as just a blip on the radar, or is this the start of something, sort of a downturn now for the season?
Well, after the game, Jamie said it's all about performances at youth level. Results aren't as important as people think they are, and he said the most disappointing thing was the performance that day. There was no place in the team for Adam Barton, and after the game, Jamie Hoyland said that he's exceeded all expectations, and he's not. His focus now is for playing reserve and first team football. So they've done without Danny Mayer for a while now, and it seems like Adam Barton, who's a very influential figure, is also set to miss out now on youth team football. So it's all about the boys who are there now to step up in his place.
And of course, a very big game coming up for them with the Lancashire FA Cup final. Of course, they'll be hoping to get their season back on track for that. Of course.
Yeah, he said that everyone's still playing for their shirt for the final. The team isn't set in stone yet, so he's going by week performances. But I don't think the game just gone will live long in the memory. But their cup form has been very impressive, and hopefully, as you say, he thinks it's going to be just a blip in their season, and I think that's probably the case.
Okay, so not too much to worry about then. Change of sports now. We're going to move on to the Preston Grasshoppers, who've been struggling of late. Another disappointing defeat this weekend, this time to Nuneaton. James Headley was there for us. How was it, James?
Well, the final score was 50-24 in Nuneaton's favour, but I think it has a slightly flattering look towards Nuneaton, because for the first hour of the game it was a very close game, and Grasshoppers were more than an equal of the table toppers. I think the game changed midway through the second period when both sides were reduced. The Nuneaton went down to 13 men and Grasshoppers were down to 14, but despite having the man advantage, Nuneaton took control of the game and they ran in, I think it was 5 tries in the last half hour, and Grasshoppers just seemed to lose all control.
This week you can expect another busy week of sport in Preston. We'll be back next week to tell you all about it. For now, you can catch up on our PNE coverage on our Twitter site, twitter.com/thescorepreston for live match updates. But for now, on this week's Sport podcast, that's all.